Marichela. Good afternoon, everyone. Greeting from Paris, my city. It's a real pleasure for me to discuss today with you, to share my research work and to deep this concept of a 50-minute city with the different colleagues of the good group, in particular in Italia. I will go often in Italia the next week. I will go to Rome for taking part in the Biennale of the Public Spaces, in Milan for taking part in the Triennale of Milan. And I said to Marichela for a week, I have become the president of the International Scientific Committee of the Italian Association of Architects, Urbanists, Landscapers, and Curators. We will have a lot of different moments for discussing, including in Italy. Today, I will share my screen. I think that it is okay now.
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, this is the first one. Okay, thank you for this invitation to develop in this seminar this concept of the new urban and territorial transitions, particular on the proximity, the revolution of proximity, the cities and territory of shorter distances, and the most now concept, the 50-minute city concept, even if this is not the only concept in our research work, but this is today very, very popular around the world. I wanted to explain why this concept has become popular around the world, and more, I wanted to discuss on the framework that this concept is totally related, in particular for its emergence in different elements. The first one and the main point is the massive urbanization in our planet, and at the same time, the global threat for humanity, the global warming. On November 2022, humanity has exceeded 8 billion people on our planet. And unfortunately, in 2023, we have exceeded at the same time the 420 ppm of CO2 in the atmosphere. We have today in Europe almost 75% of an urban population. I was born in South America, in Colombia, in this continent, in the latest 50 years. We could observe this amazing rate of urbanization from 40% towards more than 80% now in urbanization. 2 weeks ago, I went to Argentina. It's only in Argentina, the rate of urbanization is the 90%. This is totally maybe impossible to go beyond. The urbanization today, this is a reality, and the convergence between the urbanization, this massive urbanization, and on the other hand, the impact today of the climate change, it's not only a reality in our country, this is a reality in our cities, this is a reality in our daily activities. The climate change is a question of the systemic impact, biodiversity, water, the food resources, and this perspective for the next decades, 2030, 2040, 2050, is today the most relevant threat of humanity. I want to say that if we consider our continent, Europe, we have lived in the continent where we have the most important global average for increasing the temperatures. Our continent, our Europe, is based in the human activity in cities. We have today 420 cities in Europe with more than 100,000 inhabitants. Our urban lifestyle is totally related to the impact of this situation, the continuous increasing of the global temperature. The scientists, after 2000, named this new period the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene, this is this new era when our daily human activity in cities is totally related to the impact of the global warming and the disastrous consequences. If we wanted today to fight against climate change, we need to change our urban life. It is not more possible to continue to live in mineral cities. It's not possible to continue to work with the same kind of activity or spend a lot of CO2 in the individual mobility with cars. This unhuman style for shopping, we need to transform radically our urban lifestyle. In 2020, we had. It is possible to switch off the microphone. Each one. In 2020, we had the presence in Europe in the planetary activity of the COVID-19, and in this urbanized and hyper-connected continent, with the convergence between the climate change and the COVID-19, in reality, we could observe the strategic importance for developing a new deal for our cities. This is I like this work of my colleagues in London School of Economics, with the visibility of the impact of cities in our continent. We have 120 cities in Europe for 53% of our GDP. The European cities are today in a relevant economical importance. And in this time of the stronger economical crisis, this is one more of the factors for identify how could we change radically our urban lifestyle, our territorial lifestyles, not only for offering cities resilient against climate change, but at the same time, for living in face to this economical crisis and the consequences in the social exclusions, populism, and the racism, and the lot of difficulties for living together in our cities. I said, but I'm not the only for that. It is necessary today to be aware that to fight for the climate justice involve at the same time for each one of our cities in Europe to fight against poverty and social exclusion. Sustainability in our cities is at the same time to have more livable ecological cities, more viable economical cities, and more inclusive social cities. In reality, I said very often that the real question today in the European cities and in a lot of cities around the world is to decide in what kind of city do we want to live today. What is the way for living in our cities? There are a lot of different cities. There are a lot of different lifestyles around the world. And we need today, if we are totally convinced the strategic importance for fighting against climate change, for stopping poverty, for developing more inclusive cities, we need to decide what is the way in the shape of the cities for having a more resilient with the economical and social positive impact. In our research on the history of urbanism, we could observe the tremendous impact 7 decades after of the ideas, proposals, and actions of the father of the modern architecture, Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier was the father of the modern architecture with a lot of different contributions, and his contributions in the last century, 1930, was based in this functional strategy for cities, with the zoning as the way for developing different areas in cities dedicated to one kind of activity. The zoning proposed by Le Corbusier was this impact for developing the different specialized areas the corporate business district for working, the residential areas for living, the cultural districts for entertainment, maybe to preserve or not historical centers. And this proposal of the Le Corbusier was totally focused in this idea that a city that has great success is a city when that moves fast. The Le Corbusier architectural proposals were based on massive infrastructures in cities for going faster and further. 7 decades after, we could observing a lot of cities around the world on this impact. The massive building in the residential areas, the presence of motor highway, infrastructure for cars, the massive destructions of a lot of different districts just for having these infrastructures for cars. Today, 7 decades after the Athens Charter, we wanted to discuss on the most significant point for living in cities, the quality of life, regardless of the size of the density of cities and territory. I think that our scientific contribution in these times is in fact focused on the redefinition of the quality of life in cities and in territories. We have built with my team a methodology. We have defined a new framework. We have proposed a new methodological analysis of cities and territories for identifying the main factors for improving the quality of life in order to put at the center of cities and dwellers. We wanted to humanize our cities and to inverse the point of view of cities rather than with Le Corbusier. It was based on this question of massive infrastructures, strong zonifications, lot of specialized areas, and urbanistic and architecture for developing, unfortunately, more and more segregation. We wanted to transform this shape of the city in order to humanize cities, humanize territories, for giving again the center of activity in cities and territories to cities and dwellers. Our contribution with the city of shorter distances, the territory of shorter distances, our contribution on proximities as the pillar for transforming our quality of life is in reality one contribution in the longer process for transforming our cities. From the beginning of the last century, the Clarence Perry contribution based on the neighbor unity, the contribution of the new urbanism, of the new pedestrianism, the contribution of Edgar Morin, the father of complexity, François Acher, the French thinker of the chrono-urbanism, the Pritzker Prize, Aldo Rossi with the typomorphology, the contribution of the Swedish school in time geography, Torsten Angerstrand. In fact, we have a lot of different thinkers and doers totally involved for imagining another way for our cities, totally different, even opposed to the dominant zoning of Le Corbusier and the different implementations around the world. At the center of this naming map, Jane Jacobs, of course. Jane Jacobs as the main inspirator of this concept of livable cities, the living city. And today, in the second decade of the 21st century, we need to reinvent this path, this trajectory, and in particular to pay a tribute to Jane Jacobs. When in the 60s, Jane Jacobs said the living city is the city when anytime, anywhere, we have the multiplicity of choice without to take an individual car. Jane Jacobs considered that we need to take a new relationship between the useful time and the urban space. Jane Jacobs was totally opposed to this zoning, this unhumanized city, car-oriented, and Jane Jacobs considered that public space, cultural activities, solidarity, local commerce, local activities should be at the center of the city, in particular for having a more vibrant human neighborhood. The success of the 50-minute city and the twin concept, the 30-minute territory, is totally related to this main point of view. We need to turn the page of the Athens chart. We need to turn the page on zoning. For that, it is necessary to build a new urban and territorial narrative. We could resume, in fact, with these three sentences, the impact of the modern architecture in cities. Long daily commute, the long distances. Richard Sennett said the distance has become a vice with the strong addictions to individual car. The second point is the single function of buildings, the misused buildings. The rate of use of a building in Europe is less than 40%. That means a building is closed for more than 60% of the time, related to the single functions in our cities. And the consequences of the mix of the long commute and the single function, of course, is the loss of social interactions, the Gosto district, the Gosto corporate business district after working. And in reality, our cities after the Second War have been becoming cities segmented, fractured, zoned, unequal, with this need for living in a constantly a hectic life. We need to turn the page of the Athens Charter and the history of the European urbanism. We had in the 80s this idea with the Brussels Declarations. The Brussels Declarations with André Barré and different other urbanists, with the Brussels Declaration said we need to fight against segmentation, zonification, segregation. We need to develop more polycentric cities. We need to develop the multipurpose functions. We need to develop a more intensive proximity. The Brussels Declaration was a significant moment in the history of the European urbanism. The Brussels Declaration was a strategic turning point for proposing in Europe a humanistic urbanism, based on this idea that the European cities should give rise to districts in order to develop a massive mixity. The Brussels Declaration of this is a book published at this moment, is necessary to develop this living district, to develop these multipurpose activities, to ban zonification, to ban the highway that are crossing our cities, to develop a massive integration of the function in the urban life. Unfortunately, the Brussels Declaration hasn't a great success. And with my team, one of the pillars we have on the one hand, James Jacobs in North America and the Brussels Declarations in Europe for developing as two so powerful inputs in the second decade of the 21st century for proposing more livable districts, for developing green, thriving neighborhood, and for offering a new global perspective based on more climate justice, more economical activities, more social resilience. The 50-minute city as a concrete expression of the short distances in reality is based on this idea of the multi-purpose functions, a new framework between the useful time, a new relationship with the urban space for having more inclusive and thriving communities. With the C40 cities, the global network of metropolises for fighting against climate change. In Italy, we have the city of Rome, Milano. We have developed this framework based on the high quality of societal life. It is impossible to understand the concept of the 50-minute city in the compact zone, the 30-minute territory for the medium and low density zone, without to understand that we wanted to redefine the concept of the quality of life. And for that, we have proposed this new way for reaching this high quality of societal life. We said that if we wanted to turn the page of the zoning of the Athens Charter, we need to reconquer this concept of proximity, this concept of livability, and in this way, the neighborhood is a great opportunity for rediscovering this livability. A lot of people consider that proximity is a metrical thing. This is a physical proximity. In fact, we have an international research group in Italy, is the University of Milano Bicocca, who was one of the members of the group. The name is the New Proximities. We said that proximities are not only the physical proximities. This is not only the spatial proximities. We have redefined a very large spectrum of different proximities. Of course, the spatial proximities, but we need to develop more social proximities, cultural, cognitive, emotional, friendly, digital. We need to consider a larger way of different proximities in order to humanize our cities, to develop a more complete neighborhood, to foster green economies, for having more links with the urban nature, for developing more resilience, for being more inclusive. The success of the 15-minute city is totally related to this new building for cities and territories narrative. We have developed a global initiative in order to contribute with the high quality societal lives in the definition of the new urban agenda with the United Nations, in particular with UN Habitat. We have a strong cooperation with UN Habitat for proposing a global framework, regardless of the size of density of cities and territories, with the possibility for be adapted in different social, economical, geographical, and cultural contexts. Of course, in Rome, in Milano, or in Paris, in Bogota, Buenos Aires, Seoul, Chengdu, in China, for identifying several cities totally involved in this way. The context, the local context is not the same, but the framework, the theoretical way is the same way. We wanted to develop a polycentric city for fighting against this massive zonification in the heritage of the Le Corbusier and Co. And we wanted to develop a new economically social model for a more integrative city based on this idea of a massive multi-services city in a decarbonized way. We need to decarbonize our cities, given that cities are the most important contributor of CO2 emissions. And in cities, two sectors are the most important contributors: transportation and buildings. If we wanted to decarbonize, the question is no more to continue to take technical measures, but to transform our urban and territorial lifestyles in order to reduce these two sources of CO2 contributions, transportation and building. And for that, we need to develop this approach of a more intensive multi-services proximity in the way of Jane Jacobs, to offer a choice, and if we could offer a very, very larger choice of a lot of different activities in proximity, naturally the cities and dwellers, inhabitants will access to the different services in each one of our proximities. But this is not only the proximity for me in my 15 minutes in the compactor zone. This is a proximity in all city based on this idea of a polycentric city, a grid city, interconnected city, with a massive possibility for a chosen mobility, decarbonized on foot, by bike, by public transportation, and to reduce radically the role and the presence of the individual cars. Because in the compactor zone, we don't need today a car. We want to foster people to access to the different services by a low carbon mobility. With the 15-minute city, with the 30-minute territory, with these short distances, polycentric and multi-service cities, we have opened a global discussion to encourage different practices in the vital importance of proximity in our urban life. We have a strong impact in our health, urban health. We have a strong cooperation as well with the World Health Organization. In a few weeks, we will publish a new digital tool, a global digital tool for evaluating the impact of proximities in cities in the urban health. This is a very strategic point as well, because we have a general, more and more unhealthy cities with pollution, but at the same time, but the absence of physical activities. Pedestrianization, bikeability are two significant axes for fighting against obesity, for having a more individual physical attitude. In reality, with the shorter distances in a polycentric and multi-service city, we have the possibility for reconciling two elements in general with a strong opposition: sustainability and quality of life. We consider that sustainability is not only to have an ecological way for protecting the natural resources and to switch to renewable energies, but at the same time to develop a more economical and social positive impact. With the 15-minute city, with the 30-minute territory, with the polycentric multi-services, shorter distances, we could develop a more local economy, more local employment, a better access to raw materials. We could develop a shorter economical circuit. We could develop a more local industrialization, relocalizing industry, relocalizing employment, not only in the center of cities, but in a way of a massive polycentricity. Of course, this is not a magic wand. For that, the shorter distances in a polycentric and multi-service city, as the 50-minute city, the 30-minute territory, is in a strategic way based in an ambitious roadmap for 5-10 years in order to transform the traditional model of our cities based on this strong planification and specialization for having this new shape. A lot of cities today have adopted this way. This is the rise today of the 50-minute city. And you have the strong allies. The C40 cities has almost 1 billion of inhabitants in less than 100 cities. And this global network was totally committed for 3 years for going in this way. The powerful United Cities and Local Governments Association is totally committed, in particular for implementing in medium and small cities and towns, including and ruralities. The key word is to provide essential services accessible to all in proximities with the least amount of travel. And we have the support of the positive point of view of the scientists, so the IPCC, the scientists with the as advisor of governments for anticipating the impact of the climate change. And in the last report, it's very clear that we could increase locational and decarbonized mobility based on this 15-20-minute city program for reducing not only the urban energy, but to take a benefit of the systemic impact. With UN Habitat, we have created today a global roadmap around the world for going in this way to fight against a long commute, to avoid this misusing of buildings, and to develop more social interactions. The 50-minute city, the 20-minute city, the 30-minute territory has as consequence to develop a massive mixity in proximity. After the COVID-19 2 years ago, we have observed as well the strong transformation of the work style in different cities. Today, we have a radical transformation of the corporate business districts with the very important rate of workers that prefer to work differently 1 day or 2 days using remote technologies, and this is a worldwide reality. And beyond the category of workers with the possibility to access by digital technologies, we have detected now in the different studies this category of workers without remote technologies, with at the same time wanted to work differently for reducing the daily commute. In the last survey for that said lot of workers today constrained to continue to have long commutes, in fact, wish to maybe resign for having another job without a long commute, and to develop this new trend, the quiet quitting, for example. We have requested by the main worldwide association of real estate, of corporate real estate, and a lot of these associations said the new work paradigm for the 21st century will be the 15-minute commute. This is the totally independent of our research work, and we could observe today this global movement for transforming our work style in the convergence of the transformation of our lifestyle as a new trend for taking this new paradigm, the city of proximities as a polycentric, multi-service, sustainable city based on this idea of high quality of life. For 1 year after starting the Ukrainian war, we have a lot of new impacts in the European economy, in particular, the energy crisis, with this new constraint for developing more cities' energy efficiency, and as a result, to have more short circuits, the economical short circuits, and to fight against dependencies. The 50-minute city with the global warming crisis, with the impact in the work style with the COVID-19, and more recently with the energy crisis, the raw material crisis, the inflation, offer today, this is a new concrete capability for proposing how could you use a new paradigm, a new trajectory, and including to use the new technologies for fostering more local economies. We have proposed 3 pillars. The urbanism for changing the rhythm of the city, for avoiding against the peak hours, where a lot of people are taking the same commute with the mass transportation in the poor condition, or worse, with the individual cars. To change the rhythm of the city is at the same time to change the rhythm for working, the rhythm for having another style to use the proximity resources. The second point is the chronotopia for developing the massive multipurpose functions and to reinvent the new economic models for using different, with more intensive activities, the different infrastructure that existed, the different buildings that exist today. And the first one, the topophilia, for developing a different urban culture, for loving our places, our street, our square, for developing a new urbanity, more vicinity with the local activities. We have defined this idea of the high quality societal life around 4 elements, a lot of different proximities, the massive mixity, social mixity, and functional mixity, to develop a more gentle density, the organic density for mutualizing different services, a more ubiquity for using new technologies for developing new business models. We have proposed a powerful and complete methodology with the digital tools and material tools for implementing this new accessibility to equipments, to propose the new transformation of routines in the daily lives, for offering a positive impact of the isochron mapping, for rediscovering in proximities the new material resources, the hidden resources in cities, and to offer this high quality societal life. Between the cities as infrastructures, cities as my individual life, the role of the neighborhood will become a strategic role for proposing the new social and economical model. This is the core of our proposal. We have proposed this new ontologic way. This is the new ontologic model based in the social circularity. We have defined 6 essential urban and territorial functions, each one of a different color, to live, to work, to supply, to care, to learn, and to enjoy. We have defined 6 essential functions, each one of a color, because we have considered that if we have the possibility for offering a decarbonized access for a maximum of the 6 social functions in a intensive mixity, social mixity, with a great proximity. I said 15 minutes in the compacted zone. I said 30 minutes in territories with medium and low density. We will mix the different colors for obtaining the this new mixed accessibility opposed to the zonification and segregation today. If we wanted to establish today a diagnostic of the social functions in cities, in general, we could observe a map with the different colors isolated, separated. Our strength, our ontological proposal is to develop a roadmap for mixing these different functions, the social functions, for mixing the social categories for accessing to them, and to implement this polycentricity for transforming our cities in a multi-services, multi-centered, polycentric city. And automatically, we will increase 3 new indicators of the quality of life: my individual and familial well-being, my sociability with my neighbor and my work colleagues, and my ecological attitude with the planet, with the resources, and the otherness with the different people that live in the city. We have developed this concept of the high quality societal life matrix. And today, with the different partners, C40 Cities, UCLG, UN Habitat, etc., around the world, our activity is totally oriented to develop this high quality societal life matrix based on the 6 social functions for developing this massive social mixity, this functional mixity, this low carbon mobility in a polycentric city for offering an access with a maximum of proximity. The high quality societal life based in this mix of colors is today at the center of the roadmap for transforming our cities. The transformation of our cities for mixing the 6 essential urban functions related to the 3 new indicators: well-being, sociability, and sustainability, as a consequence to generate this kind of massive intersections. The motto of the 50-minute city, of the 30-minute territory, of the city, of the polycentric city, of the polycentric multi-service city with the shorter distances, is to generate massive intersections and to generate a new business model, new economic model for transforming empty buildings today and different new business model for transforming cafe, restaurants, disco, public spaces, private spaces in the new uses for generating new activities. The roadmap of a lot of cities today around the world is based on this idea that we need to reinvent this proximity from the just 100 meters to 100 kilometers, because this is the average of the influence of the impact of a metropolis in a city. Reinventing a polycentric, multi-service, multi-purpose vicinity. We have a lot of implementations today in the city of Buenos Aires, Melbourne in Australia, Boston, Busan, the second largest city in Seoul, Zurich, the city of Zurich, for example, has voted in a referendum in December 2021 for confirming or not the transformation of the central city of Zurich in 32 new polycentric cities. Recently, the Scottish nation has voted the new master plan for the next 10 years based on the 20 minutes territory, my region, not only Paris, the Île-de-France region, the 12 million of inhabitants, has voted last week the transformation for the next 10 years, the Île-de-France region in a 20 minutes territory. I wanted to highlight the importance of new technologies for managing this transformation. We have developed with methodology for exploring the different hidden resources in our cities, for rediscovering our proximity, and for reinventing the new business model, because in fact, we don't necessarily need to deploy new expensive money investments. We have, with the new technologies, the possibility for exploring our territories, for identifying how could live today in unbalanced territories. A city as Paris, for example, in an amazing city, is totally unbalanced between the west of Paris and the east of Paris. A lot of people work in the west of Paris, a lot of people live in the east of Paris. The working class live in the northeast of Paris. The immigration categories lives in the border of the northeast of Paris without skirts, and we have an unbalanced city. When we could use the digital technologies matched with the ontologic model, we could rediscover this current situation in each one of the 6 social functions, to live how people live today, work, how people work today, to supply, how people buy supply in the daily activities, for accessing to health services, medical services, for accessing to education, to culture, and to enjoy in the role of public space. The digital technologies, this is a very powerful ally. This is a very short example of the city of Buenos Aires. We have a very great program with the city of Buenos Aires for implementing this roadmap. And you have these 3 levels of analysis. The first level, the polarity, the centrality that existed today in a city as Buenos Aires, 48 districts. The second level is to focus the analysis in each one of districts, to identify the presence, the absence, the balance or not of the mix of the 6 social functions, the social categories, for generating the livability scorecard. This is in one of the districts. And this is the micro analysis for the street ranking. In this case, we want to complete the multipolarities, the livability scorecards, with the use of the public spaces and the concrete implementation street by street. This is a concrete example of the livability index diagnosis in the district of the 6 essential functions. In this case, I have 4 of the 6, with the accessibility with the different parameters in each one of districts. The accessibility, vitality, human scale, etc. And this is an example for one district. This is the Flores district. We have almost 1,500 inhabitants. And in this slide, it is possible to observe the district. You have the 6 essential functions: to live, to work, to care, to supply, to enjoy, to learn, the 6 essential functions. The 3 indicators of the quality of life: my well-being, my sociability with my neighbor, my work colleagues, my environmental impact, and the livability index in the district: housing accessibility, urban vitality, people-friendly, risk exposure. And in the map, you could observe the different colors with the score of the matrix of the high-quality societal life. And of course, in the more red, we have a more quality of life. In this south, we could observe, for example, the absence of social mixity and the functional. This is very interesting because I went to Buenos Aires after working in the theoretical model with the databases of the city of Buenos Aires. And after, we have done a different concrete presence in different areas with a real match of our hypothesis. For finishing, a resume of the concrete actions. We have 2 scales for implementing the 50-minute city, the 20 minutes the city, the 30 minutes territory, the polycentric and multi-services short distance city. The first one is to acting in a new scale, the level of district, the neighborhood. And for that, we needed to transform the concrete organization of the municipal public policies. We needed to develop a more decentralized actions. We need to develop a new matrix in the local governance. We need to consider the importance to go beyond the centralized urban policies for offering more flexibility and adaptivity in the district, for acting in a more proximity scale. And the second way, more visible, because for modifying the internal organization of the municipal public policies is not necessarily visible. And the second axis is totally visible, to offer a common backbone of hyper-local services in city. In the case of the city of Paris, we are totally involved today for implementing this new urban policy for the next decade. But if we wanted to respect the democracy, we have the elections all 6 years, 5 years now. And we have the urbanistic powerful tools, the master plan. The last time when we have modified the master plan of the city of Paris was in 2000, 23 years ago. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, has decided to modify the master plan for proposing a new urban master bioclimate plan for Paris, available for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years. This is a very intensive work for changing the master plan. This work has started 2 years ago and will be finished, I think, before this summer, for be voted by the Paris City Council. And the new master plan will be totally dedicated to propose these permanent transformations with the sustainable polycentric, multi-service, sustainable city. This is just quickly measures that the mayor, the Paris, Anne Hidalgo has taken in this way to transform a city for more pedestrianization and more bikeability in the great axis, Rue de Rivoli, for maybe 60 years. In the Le Corbusier attitude, this was 7 lanes cars way. Today, this is the 0 cars way, totally dedicated for decarbonizing mobilities and buses and taxis. This is the transformation of the school. With the 50-minute city, the mayor of Paris said, the school is the capital of my district. The school is the center of mixity, the social mixity. And the school, this is one strategic point for offering a lot of different services, given that all inhabitants in a moment that goes to the school. We have acting for developing more resilience in the schoolyards of the Oasis program, for developing more nature, water resilience in the schools. We have decided to open the school to the neighbors during the weekend for developing this chronotopia. And we have decided to creating the school street. This is the Oasis schoolyard. This is the opening school during the weekend for different activities, the chronotopia, 1 square meters, lot of new activities. Each one of the new activities, more proposals. And the school street, we have 169 schools in Paris, and the school streets is a program for transforming each one of the schools. Instead of to have cars, we have now a useful way, digitalized and open to pedestrian, bikeability, playground, etc. Among 169 today, we have finished the transformation of 50 streets. And in the 2 next 2 years, we will finish the totality of 169 school for a street. This is the new emergence of 169 new mini urban park for humanizing the city. This is an important program because we have considered that the local commerce is a common good. This is the 3rd social function: to live, to work, to supply. The city of Paris has created a commercial property subsidiary of the city of Paris for managing locations in Paris in order to host artisans, local commerce with the price of for renting below the price of the speculative real estate market. We could, in this case, promoting economy, developing social links, to resist digital platforms, to embody people. And you have the possibility in the very expensive district, this is the 6e arrondissement, the 5e, the very expensive district, we have the possibility to offer library services, to host artisans, chocolate makers, etc. This is a very powerful project emerged with the 50-minute city, beautiful your neighborhood. This is a collaborative project to citizens for taking the different neighborhood and to propose the concrete transformation of the street, for developing more topophilia, and more chronotopia, in order to have more pedestrian zones, to develop more furniture adapted to the new uses, for generating new interventions. The very, very nice project, work in progress now. Do you know probably the strategic, the vital importance of the participatory budget in Paris? This is the amount, the biggest amount of participatory budget in the world for a city. And this is a project, we have lot of projects in Paris in this way. The transformation of specialized areas. Instead of to have the corporate building, we have developed today a lot of different programs for generating the users mixity and social mixity. Instead of to have a corporate building, we have today the places for working, the places for social housing, the places for sport activities, etc. This is the massive mixity. In Buenos Aires, I explained. This is in Toronto, the new zone of the former Downsview Airport, totally working transformation in this way. This is a small city in Africa, in Tunisia, in Sousse, for transforming in this way. I am very proud of that because this is in Mexico. And in Mexico, the Institute of the National Housing Fund for Workers has decided a new law for constraining investors in social housing with the 2.5 kilometer services. It's not more possible to invest for building social housing without a larger spectrum of local services in a radius less than 2.5 kilometers. This is the master plan of the city of Chengdu. And in China, the name is the 15-minute city community life circle. This is the new trend in ruralities in the small town. This is in the south of France, less than 5,000 inhabitants, a very small rurality, 15 square kilometers, totally oriented to the 15-minute city, with the very nice alliance of different towns in the same area for sharing the different resources, for developing a common pool of services for generating more accessibility for each one of us. This is the same case in the very, very small town in Poland, Plisju. This is a small town with 15,000 inhabitants. And just to for finishing, we have developed a lot of different tools. The digital tool, and this is the material tool. The name is the proximity fresco. The proximity fresco. This is the manual tool for imagining of people in the creative workshop. How could we transform our proximities for profiling the different users and citizens, because the accessibility for services is not the same for a kid, for a teenager, for a young adult, for an elderly people, for a women, etc. And for that, we have developed this idea of the citizen profile in the digital resources, in the material resources, for implementing a lot of different services in this polycentricity. The 15-minute city for an elderly people, as far as the available services as concerned, is not the same for a teenager. We need to develop for that the isochronous mapping. This is a relevant key point, because with the isochronous mapping, we have the possibility for considering the profile in the cities in the Mediterranean coast, for example. We have a more important presence of elderly people, and for that we need to imagine a isochrone mapping with more services available for elderly people, and in different other conditions we need to satisfy the other social profile categories. And this is the last slide for inviting you to take part in these worldwide actions. We have created with UN Habitat, C40 Cities, UCLG, Smart City Expo World Congress, the Global Observatory of Proximities. During the latest World Urban Forum in Poland, we have launched this new global initiative. My team at Sorbonne University is the General Secretary for federating majors around the world, for launching new concrete initiatives, for proposing the new international context for transforming our cities with proximity, for continuing to develop new research activities, and in particular in the way of indicators and benchmarking. The Global Observatory of Proximities, this is the common resource structure and activities for federating the very large community of proximities. We have the 15-minute city, 20-minute city, 30-minute territory, 5-minute city in Nordic countries, 10-minute city in Brussels, the city of the short distances in Canada, the 20-minute neighborhood in Australia, the 10-minute neighborhood in Ottawa, the complete neighborhood or vital neighborhood in South America, the 50-minute city circle of communities in China. We have the super blocks in Barcelona. We have a lot of different implementation of this idea of the shorter distances for a polycentric, multi-services, and livable neighborhood. I want to invite you to join us in this Global Observatory of Proximities. We have published 2 weeks ago our white paper on the high quality of life, the high quality societal life. This white paper is available in our website in English, and in the next weeks we will publish in French and in Spanish. We have a lot of different resources in our website, of course. Thank you so much for your attention.